Hi, guys. Welcome to our podcast again. I know exactly how we're going to start this one because I'm going to share what we just went through. So I drive all the way to the studio. I have Keeleen on the phone, drive all the way to the studio, get to the studio. And guys, I literally can't make this up. I booked it for next week. I have Keeleen sitting on the phone waiting. I'm like, Keeleen, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just waiting. I have our guy calling. Everyone's trying to figure out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, is it normal to book things for the wrong day that often? Is that normal? But they are letting us record. We're here. So if that isn't redemption, I don't know what it is. Keeleen was so quick to be like, I was like, Keeleen, we might not be able to record today. She was like, okay.
No.
I was
I
like,
was like,
Keeleen, no way you
that's
were that
fine.
quick to say, okay.
Well, I was like, it's fine. I was like, we'll just do it for another day or whenever.
The day I booked it for.
But I'm also, well, yeah, and I'm also not the one driving there, and I'm just on the other end of the phone. So I'm just like, okay. It's like a simple phone call away. You're the one that drove all the way
I
there.
know. I was like, oh man. And then my phone's almost dead. Okay, guys, the way that they're using the equipment, Keeleen is connected through Bluetooth through my phone because she's in North Carolina. That's why it sounds like she's on the phone probably. But at the same time, I got here and my phone was almost dead, forgot my charger. So
Mhm.
I'm using their charger and I've never seen a charger this long. So that is what today looks like so far. Keeleen, how's your day?
My day went really, really well. There's was cereal all on my couch, all over my floor. As I had to pick all that up, so that was fun. A whole box of cereal, to be exact, because
Family size.
my son decided to dump out the box of cereal and eat all the marshmallows inside of it. So
And I told Keeleen I support that and I'm on his side. So, oh,
I'm like,
brother.
okay.
Anyways, that's how we're going to start this podcast. So, what a moment. That was actually, kind of cool how that worked out. I also got offered a chicken wing, which was kind of cool. So, I didn't eat it, but
Yes, do a
I
chicken
sound like
wing.
I sound like a 50-year-old man when I laugh and wheeze like that.
I thought you were gonna say sound like a 50-year-old man whenever I'm taking a chicken wing. I was like, you can't just be going around taking chicken wings.
You just see me walking around Phoenix, on the lookout for a chicken wing.
Do you have a chicken wing? Do you give me a chicken wing?
I'll do anything for a chicken wing. Oh my Lanta. Okay, so here's the other side of us. Keeling, I feel like sometimes we're kind of hyper when we're coming into it. So it's like chicken wing, hot dog
Yeah,
and
hot
bologna.
dog and bologna,
All right, Keeling, are you ready to get
the
sad?
macaroni.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding, guys. We're
Yeah.
actually not going to get sad. Well, Aussie. We are going to be talking about from chaos to redemption. So, chaos to redemption. We shared a little bit in the last episode how we got kind of sad and, it's heavy when things are always sad. But, that's another thing I thought about too. I'm like, sharing our story, there's just a lot of sad. You know what I mean, Keeleen? There is a
Yeah,
lot of
there,
sad,
yeah.
honestly. I'm not going to lie to you guys. There's a lot of sad stuff. And
There is.
so, me and Keeleen obviously were really close. So we kind of talked a little bit outside of this. We were just reminiscing. And one thing that we talked about, so in the stricter household that we lived in, another thing I thought, hold on, let me say two things. In the stricter household, I think I made a reference to strict is controlling. I want to go back on that because I don't think strict is necessarily controlling. I think we lived in a controlled house that was strict. So I just wanted to touch on that because I was like, sometimes I'm wrong. So I want to admit that. And looking back, or even if I haven't listened to it yet, but even listening to it, I feel like that just isn't, just because parents are strict doesn't mean they're controlling. But our situation, it was controlling in the strictness. So that's what I wanted to touch on there. But the thing that me and Keeleen talked about when we did live in that household, there's one good memory that we both got to share. Fortunately, not unfortunately, fortunately. It's when we went to Florida. So, Keeleen, do you want to talk about Florida first? Because I want to share about when you went to the vehicle by yourself. And if you don't want me to, I totally won't.
No, that's fine.
I'm going to out you.
I guess there was a family trip that we had taken to Florida, and some of y'all might know, some of y'all might not know. We do have other siblings. I have four other siblings aside from Adrian. So aside from that, we had all taken like a family vacation together because it was going to be like the last time that we were able to all be together, really. Also, me being back in the house, we've talked about how I kind of was there and then not there, and I was there this time. So they decided to take a family vacation to Florida. Yeah, it was honestly a really, really good trip. I was able to just hang out with everybody, like,
And it seemed like everyone was in a good
that, yeah, everybody was in a good mood. And our car had broken. Honestly, I mean, this sounds bad, but it honestly, I don't think it was funny. Well, to me, it was funny because it was my vehicle, but the car had broken down on the way to Florida, and we kind of got stuck for a little bit, and we had to wait for the car to stop overheating. And I just remember the car breaking down. Then we went right on our way after it had been fixed, and we were in these little condo things
Oh,
alongside the
yeah.
beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, the condo thing alongside the beach. And we basically spent the entire time either shopping or on the beach. They both had given us each like a certain amount of money that we could spend. And I think I had gotten a couple pairs of shirts and a pair of shorts. And so, yeah, those are some good memories. I don't want to say like the only,
I literally, that went through my
but
head too. That is so funny because I literally was like, I,
yeah, okay, okay. Because I'm like, if you were to ask me what's one good memory that you do have there, I would say it being the Florida trips. But yeah, Adrian, what's something that you would say like
I'm going to out Kayleen,
what were
guys. And
you
I'm so excited about it.
I know.
Okay. So I feel like, started vaping and just all of that super young. Like, I mean, we were, exposed to a lot more than, I don't know, just whatever.
Yeah.
Well, Kayleen goes to the vehicle by herself. And I will never forget when they walked back to the beach because I was like, mind you, guys, Kayleen had to remind me of this trip because I feel like so much bad happened. I feel like my mind just completely blocked out this whole trip. I'm not even going to lie. But I was so happy to remember it because of this. Kayleen went to the vehicle. I don't even know why you went back there. And our had walked out to the vehicle too. Kayleen is in there hitting vape. Like hotboxing the thing. Now, mind you, okay, you guys, if we would not have been in that Florida, I don't know what it was about Florida that made it okay. If we would have been at home and did that, oh my gosh, we would have been grounded. Like bad things would have happened in that house. Like, so the fact that Florida gave that like little bit of, I don't know, like
Yeah.
environment
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, well, I think that it was more or so they knew we were getting older, and that was like the last trip that we were all going to be taking together. And well, really the first and last trip. I don't
Yeah.
ever remember taking any other trip outside of
Mm-mm.
that. Well, no, 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 Michigan Adventure. But
Oh yeah,
anywho,
we did go to Michigan.
yeah, that
Oh
too.
my
That was
gosh,
fun.
how do I not remember this stuff? I feel like so much
But
bad
well,
happened that it literally wiped that stuff out of my mind.
yeah.
That is insane.
Honestly, I didn't even remember until just now because I was like, "Oh wait, we had went to Michigan Adventure too."
Wow.
But yeah, so I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, so um, I guess like they knew we were getting older and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of, when you grow up in an environment like that, sometimes they might do something nice to like a nice gesture. I don't know what the point and it was, but as soon as we had gotten home, it was the same exact, it went right
Yeah.
back to
It's
was
confusing,
interesting,
honestly.
honestly. It's very confusing. I was like, but honestly, that trip was so much fun. I had so much fun in
Yeah,
Florida.
I think, see, guys, this is why I love having my sister with me because, oh my gosh, it just brings up so much, like so much good. We can talk about literally every dynamic. And it's like, I can literally call Kayleen and be like,
Yeah.
Kayleen, I opened the milk and the cat fell off and I spilt some of the milk. And Kayleen would understand what I was feeling in that moment. She'd be like, "Oh my gosh, Adrian, like when the cap hit the floor and the sound of it, you knew that the milk was going to spill." Like, I can't explain it. Like, Kayleen just like I can literally call her about anything and she just understands, and it's so free. Like, we built it. We built our relationship too. So it's like super cool. But I really
Yeah.
do feel like the Florida trip confuses me looking back, because that little bit of memory with that and then looking at everything else. I would say the Florida trip is like the dandelion, like the flower I explained in the field in a previous podcast, like
Right.
that little bit of light. That's a really good way to explain it too. So, yeah, it
Yeah.
really did, like, cuz then the rest of the time it's like, what in the world? Why are we being so rude, you know? Like, insane.
Calm down.
Everybody
Calm
needs to
down.
take a chill pill immediately.
Yeah. And you learn really, really quick. Don't tell nobody to calm down when they're in like a frenzy kind of state of
Oh
mind.
my gosh, that literally just brought something to my mind. Do you want to go deep or no on this one?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, if you wanna. I feel like we that was happy.
That
Like,
was happy.
but
Guys,
I mean, it
we're
goes
not
it.
all sad. Like, it's just the foundation of this podcast is, based on, but obviously you're going to see our
But
personalities
yeah,
through
go.
it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that really did make me
But
think of
yeah,
something. I don't know why.
yeah. Go ahead.
So, my brain just stopped. What did you say that made me say that?
I said, whenever somebody's kind of like in a frenzy or something like
Oh,
that, and telling them to
yeah.
calm down. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like,
You guys, I literally cannot make this up. So I want to be like really clear. For a little bit when I was in my teenage years, when it came to one of my I was mouthy. I lost all respect. I hit a point where I was just like, so much happened in our lives that I hit a point where I just said whatever was on my mind. And then, then I got quiet through some seasons. And then, I mean, everything you go through changes you in different ways. But at this time, I think we had went to the hospital for one of our parents. There was a situation, and everyone's in a frenzy, whatever, triggered left and right. Well, we get in the vehicle and my parents driving and my other parent is in the passenger seat, and we had been like going back and forth about something. I cannot remember what it was, and I responded, and this is exactly what I said, and I will never forget it, because I literally, the regret that filled my soul, body, toes, mind immediately was, I literally was sitting directly behind him and I was like, "You need to take a chill pill." No, that's not what I said. Now I can't remember. My brain keeps stopping. Oh, it was, "You need a reality check." I
mm,
literally was sitting behind him and I said, "You need a reality check." When I tell you, literally, we are driving like, some people call them highways, but it was like a highway, slams on the brakes. And mind you, we're going like 50, 60 miles per hour. I don't know, obviously, the exact mileage, but slams on the brakes. And I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn when to not just say stuff like, and he turns around and he screams at me, "You need to go up your arm." And I was like, and in that moment, I was like, man, hearing that as a kid when you're trying to deal with something that's happening, and then you're going to this other person's house and you're getting it thrown in your face in that way, that is something. When someone is in a frenzy, one thing I've learned, you do not make it worse. Like, that's like a lot of people that argue. It's, and I live that way. I used to sit there and argue and argue and argue, but you can literally be in an argument with someone, and if their mind is set, like, Keeling, if you want a cake pop, but I want a smoothie, this is just like an example, and we're sitting here screaming at each other because you want the cake pop, but I want the smoothie, and it's like, well, we're only going to one place. Now we're in this screaming match. Now we're arguing about stuff that's not even about the cake pop, not even about the smoothie. It's like, I've learned
mm-hmm.
we can both be sitting there screaming at each other, and because we both already decided what we wanted, neither of us are going to get anywhere. Like, you can scream at someone until you're blue in the face, like literally choking, and it's not going to change their mind on certain things. And that's how I felt in a lot of dynamics, like growing up. I felt like when someone's set in their ways, it's so hard to break out of that. Like, you are the one that has to make a change because you can't change other people. It's like going to get a dog from the pound that's 12 years old, and every time he goes outside, he goes to the corner first and then goes to the door. Do you know how hard he's done that for 12 years of his life? Do you know how hard it is to break a dog out of a habit like that? I mean, that's just a like reference to other scenarios, obviously, but humans as people, until we want to understand somebody else or something like that, sitting there and arguing with someone who isn't in a frenzy, that's their frenzy. I feel like frenzy is like a weird word to use, but you know what I'm saying.
frenzy. The kids were watching, I think, the superhero movie, and somebody was like super upset or something, and they used the word frenzy, so that's why.
Now look, I'm gonna be using that all week.
Like a frenzy, like I can't remember, but I thought it was so funny. It just came at the top of my head because they were watching it. But anyway, sorry.
Guys, I'm a foreman at work, so I'm gonna go in there and be like, whoever's in a frenzy. I'm gonna use frenzy. All these grown people, I'm like, hey, get your frenzy under control now. Okay, but yeah, so that's kind of what went through my mind with that. So I don't know. I think with the Florida thing, I don't know. Last week when we talked about that killing, I was like, holy smokes. It like
Yeah,
stopped me in my tracks, kind of. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, wait a second. I had to like sit and think on it. I was like, whoa.
right. Because, whenever we end the podcast after talking about, I don't know, I just said bow like that. I was
Why do
like,
I laugh
bow.
like a 60-year-old
Just
man?
like, it just like came out like bow. And, heavy stuff like that. I feel like after we get off, it's good to, talk about those times where it's like uplifting or, like happy moments. Because in your head, you start to, like, when something bad is happening or going on, you sometimes want to, like, think positive. Or sometimes whenever bad things are just going on around me, I'll just like close my eyes and just picture that I'm at the beach, and I'll just like picture my feet walking in the sand, and I'm just like, everything's going to be okay. I get so quiet, like I really do. And it's just because I find my happy place, and my happy place is at the beach. And so I just picture me.
I love that. So
I really do. And it just always helps me. So, sometimes bad things happen, and so, especially things that you can't control, but you can control. Jared's helped me a lot on that. Just putting my mind in a better place whenever
I know what you
I get
mean.
bad news or bad things. Yeah, like bad things are happening. Or I don't know. Like,
When you have someone like that in your life, it changes literally everything. It
yeah,
really does.
for sure.
And guys, another thing, while Killian saying that, so me and Killian talked about this. I have a person in my life that really speaks a lot of wisdom, love, all of that into my life. And when I had started therapy, they gave me the best advice. And it's advice that I feel like every person should hear if they have the question that I had. I did that when I was ordering food last night. I was like, can I get out cry?
The
And then I rolled up to the window and I didn't want to make eye contact. I was like, oh my gosh, I know she knows I stuttered. I know she knows I stuttered. I was like, can I get ketchup, please? But, anyways, so I was like, this person, was starting therapy. Okay, let me back up more. Sorry, I know I do this sometimes. I'm going to back up more. When I got out to Arizona and started my healing journey, I wanted to get a therapist and I couldn't afford one. One day, started writing a book that I thought I wanted to publish, but I didn't realize in that time, like my mind was like, I want to publish this one day. But little did I know those years I spent writing in that, it was for my healing, like I had one idea, but what was actually happening was a whole different avenue. It was for me, and I'm never going to publish it. So I used to go down after work every day. I would work about 12 hours. Then I would go, like 12-hour day from leaving my house to getting home. And I would go down to the pool and I would write in this book. And I didn't really, know a lot of people out here at that time. I am literally writing in my book, and this woman gets in the pool and she swims directly up to me and says, hi. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get in the pool. Why not? So I get in and I'm like, hi. And I'm like talking to her and we start just talking a little bit. Typical conversations like, what do you do for work? She was a trauma therapist at the time. And I want to be very clear. I didn't use her for that in that area because we were friends. So I am like, what this person did for me in my life, I cannot explain. I mean, I had a lot of triggers at the time. And when we're triggered as people, it's hard for people around us, and a lot of times it's not fair to the people around us. Honestly, I've done it a lot in my life, like with triggers and stuff. I'm try to be a lot more self-aware now, and I do like take extra strides. If I react or do something in a certain way, I want to absolutely dig the bottom of the barrel to figure out, how can I react differently? But why did I react that way? So with this person, and she was a trauma therapist, I couldn't afford therapy at the time. She sat with me through the worst triggers of my life. I was by myself. I just like choked. the things that the things that she helped me like realize and come to realization on is something that changed my life forever. Like not just because she was a trauma therapist, but who she was as a person. She just had such a huge impact on my life. And so moving forward, when I got in a place where I could afford an actual therapist, I went to this person and shared that I was going to get a therapist, and I was like feeling like I wanted to go to therapy a couple times a week because I was like, I really need to work on stuff. Like I really need extra help navigating all of that, what people go to therapy for. And she said to me, these aren't her exact words. I don't remember like her exact words. I don't like to put words in people's mouth, but she essentially said to me, going to therapy a couple of times a week, it could feel like 10 strangers coming into your home. And I was like, wow, like it really, really resonated with me. So with this podcast and what me and Kayleen are doing, we're recording 2 hours at a time. And me and Kayleen even had the conversation. We sometimes, once we get in it, once you're in the conversation, it's like you can go forever. But I think at a certain point it gets unhealthy. Like if we sit here and it's easier to listen to, but sometimes, if we talk about something, even like the Florida trip, when we talked about it, it's like I had to go and sit on that. I'm a
Mhm.
very big self-reflector. So I'm like, why didn't I remember that? And I wanted to sit in that moment of the thought of Florida and just soak in that like you do at the beach, Keeling. Like I kind of do that with memories sometimes. I'm
Mhm.
like, let me soak in it, even if they're bad. I'm like, I need to soak in this and feel what I felt so I can move forward. And it's really important, like if you are going through healing or you're doing it with a friend or your sister, whatever it looks like, that you also don't forget to live in that and also have fun,
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I struggled with that a lot actually. When I first, definitely, I feel like I've just gotten into the point where I've actually started enjoying my time in Arizona. Like I've done stuff and I've had enjoyable moments, but the majority of it was so heavy because I was trying to face so much. It's like I put the bottle down and stopped drinking about it. And then when I was sober minded, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. Like this is a lot.
Yeah.
That's why, like, people talk about sobriety. And I feel like a lot of times people can focus on the sobriety of like the alcohol or the drug. And when I talk about sobriety, I'm like, I wasn't addicted to the alcohol. I was addicted to the coping and how it took the pain away. So then when I was like
Mm.
forced to sit with my pain, I went down some really dark routes, honestly. So,
Yeah, honestly, that's a very, very good point because sometimes that is what, others do. Some people might do. They might go through something or go through something traumatic, and sometimes instead of, sitting on it, they cover it up, whether it's like hanging out with a certain person all the
mhm.
time. It could literally look like anything. And then once that person's gone, you might not actually love them, or you might not actually like care about that thing that you're doing or whatever. It's really just kind of like a mask. So that way you didn't have to deal with the pain. So now, once you finally get to a certain point where you don't have that person, so now you're going through the line and really thinking, like, okay, now I've got to deal with A, B, and C because I never dealt with C, but now B and A are added onto it. So,
Yeah.
instead of just sitting on that one thing, now you got more added on to it because now you got to like really sit, especially with probably with sobriety and stuff. You're like, okay, well, I didn't deal with this or this, and now I use this to cover it up with this, and now I'm like,
Yeah, and I know it probably sounded so much easier hearing me sit there and be like, oh yeah, sobriety is sitting with it. I'm gonna like dive a little deeper because so chaos to redemption, that sat really, really big with me when I heard that. And I actually really love that. Chaos to redemption. I mean, it's so powerful because I feel like when I was growing up and even into my early 20s, I was like, this is my life. I'm gonna be a 45-year-old. I'm gonna be drunker than crap in a bar. I can't even like go to work without like, guys, I was going to work drunk. I was drinking all the time. I was drinking and driving. I was like insane. I was losing my mind. I could not, if I was sober, and then if I wasn't drinking, I was smoking. And it was like this repetitive thing, like, oh, I'd quit drinking, then I would smoking. I couldn't just sit with myself
yeah.
like at all. And when I moved to Arizona, I had kept trying to get sober before I moved out here. And I was counting my days. And then, you get to day 71. Then if I have a drink, it puts so much pressure. So I stopped counting my days. and it works for some people, counting your days. For me, I feel like it puts so much more pressure on it, because then if I had a drink, then I felt like I completely just ruined everything. And, this is who I am. I can't. So for me, the days it was really heavy for me to try to do that. And every time, I had a friend that literally I hit 30 days, I think it was. I went home and they decorated the whole apartment like to celebrate. It was like to that extent. That's how bad my drinking was. So I'm sharing that. And, as the podcast goes on, I'll share like what happened through that and why I was drinking, honestly. So, and let me be clear as I move forward with that. I never drank because of somebody. I drank because of my feelings. I will never put my drinking on somebody else. It was solely because of my feelings, and I couldn't deal with how things affected me. Because things can happen to you, but as people, it is our responsibility of what we do. But in certain times, you do the best you can. And in those times,
Right.
we went through some really, really dark stuff. So I just couldn't handle it. I just couldn't handle it. So fast forward, because we wanted to share some happier things on this podcast. Or on this episode, I moved to Arizona, and I will never forget. I went to Fry's, which my Midwesterns, it's Kroger. So if you ever come out here, you can use your number, and get the discounts. So totally awesome. So I went to Fry's, and at this point, like I said, I didn't really know anybody. I didn't have a job because I moved out here on my savings. I had built up a savings, and I didn't know what I was building it for. And then all of a sudden, here I am moving across the country. It's like crazy how things work out. I don't know. So I didn't have a job. I ended up using all my savings, but whatever. And because I moved out here, didn't know where I was moving, didn't have a job. Like I moved out here, and when I said the unknown on an earlier episode, I am not joking. Like I didn't look into the area. I didn't look in like it. Honestly, looking back, I'm like that. I was losing my mind, genuinely losing my mind. That is insane. And anyways, but thank God I'm here. Fries.
Yeah.
And I'm like pushing the cart, and I put a case of beer in my cart. I am not exaggerating. I don't know the exact time I was in the store, but it had to have been almost an hour. I walked around the store by myself, pushing this cart with the case of beer. And in that moment, I felt like that case of beer was looking at me and I was looking at it. But like, it was like, a stare off. I was like, what? But in reality, it was me sitting there looking at my coping, what I've coped with for years of my life, sitting in the cart, was looking at me. That was the road that could lead me a complete different direction for what I came here for, sitting in that cart. Looking in that cart, that was my strength. If I went and checked out with that case of beer, everything in me, there would have been no point of anything. I walked around the store and I put the case of beer back and I walked out without it. I went through absolute, I don't know if I can say this, but
Dang.
absolute hell after that, because sitting there with my thoughts, I can't explain it. It's like we went through
Yeah.
so much. One memory turned into another memory. And I've explained this in like some of my recovery groups too. I explained it like this
Yeah.
on a murder show. I don't know how you say it, like a murder mystery show or like a crime
Hmm.
show, when the person's standing at the whiteboard and they're like looking at the whiteboard, and they like have the pen to their mouth, and they're like looking and their eyebrows are squinched, and on the whiteboard it's like all these scribbles, and you've got a road map pointing all different ways, you've got pictures all over the place, you got dots everywhere, and you're looking at it and you're like, I don't know where to start. That's how I have felt like a lot of my life. Where do I start? Like some people have like one traumatic event, but it still affects someone the same way that, multiple can. And so when I was like, every time I tried getting sober, it's like I felt like I didn't know where to start, because then I think of one memory and then it led to this memory and this memory and this memory and this memory. And it was this whole like road map of just chaos that I couldn't deal with. So, I fought for my life. If I can put it anyway, I fought for my life. And Keeling, is there anything that like you thought of while I was saying that?
While you were speaking about that, it takes a very, very strong person to have done what you have done. Because not only have you picked up, moved your entire life from this place to this place, but you're also fighting and healing. And honestly, that was my first time ever hearing that story. I didn't know that. I think that's so sweet and so beautiful that you were able to finally be like, you know what? like this isn't who I am. And you are such a beautiful person inside and out, and I'm so happy that you're able to now like see those things. I don't know, Adrian, I feel like you're such a strong person, truly and honestly, and I'm very, very proud of you and the person that you've become, because I can't say that I was there for you during the dark times previously before you had moved to Arizona, because I feel like I was there borderline, but it was probably what, 2 years before you had moved to Arizona. And when you were telling me like stories and stuff like that, I'm like, well, not really even just stories, but like things that affected you in your life. I was like, dang, like
Keelan,
you're
we went.
very, very strong for doing that. Like
I
very
felt the
strong for
same
doing
way
that.
about you. I interrupt you all the time. I have got to get this under control.
No, 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 no. I was done. I was
No,
done. I was done.
Keelan, you were literally talking, and I was like, yeah.
No, no, no.
Guys,
It's
it's a
okay.
whole thing.
I do the same thing to you. Like, I promise you.
If
You're fine.
somebody
You don't
else
have
were
to
to interrupt me,
apologize.
though, I would kung fu. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Keelan, I feel the same way about you though. And you guys heard us talk on, earlier episodes if you listened. And me and Keelan, we had Keelan, we had to really sit and learn each other because it was just a lot. We had to sit there and I
Yeah.
had to hear what she went through, and it shifted my mindset 180, and then vice versa. I feel like us being able to come together, and then we saw it's like the puzzle pieces all started coming together for us, if that makes sense, for each other. Not
Yeah.
anyone. This isn't about anyone else around us. Like Keelan said, we do have other siblings. I love how she worded it.
Yeah.
Keelan, I love how you worded it at the beginning. You're like, okay, so there's 4 and Adrian, and I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
But we do have there's 6 of us all together from the household that we speak about
Yeah.
that was stricter. So we have one,
Yes.
and we're only going to mention this one time, and that's it. We have one
Right.
younger
Right.
sister that has the same parents as both of us. We are not going to be sharing
Mm-hmm.
anything else about her. That is the only thing we're going to say. And then we had 3
Mm-hmm.
siblings from our step parent, and that's the only thing we're going to say about them
Right.
because we
Mm-hmm.
are not.
Yep.
That is their space. That is their story.
Yep.
And if they feel differently than what we're speaking about, like I said, the tree scenario, that is for them. And we would
Yeah.
never put, breath into their words. So
Right. Mm-hmm.
we're just sharing because that is a big part of it too, right? But me and Keelan, this is about me and her and where we're at. So I just
Right.
kind of, because
And that's why I wanted to, sorry.
no, you go. Love it.
No, no, no. I just the one time I had brought him up, I wanted it to be, that happy moment. It was all of
Yes.
us
I
because
think you did great, by the way.
and that okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That was
And
like a
so
great
yeah,
time to do
that's
it.
all I'm gonna say on that. Okay, thanks, Adrian. Yeah,
Because
that is
I think you did
yeah.
great because guys, it's been really hard for both of us dealing with some of that, and there was just a lot that happened. So we also didn't know what to do with that because it's just not our place to
Yeah.
speak on. So I'm honestly glad that you did bring it up, Keeling, because I literally thought about it today. I'm like, had been there in certain situations, but like I said, we're not
Right.
speaking for her or on her. So
Yeah.
that's, and Keeling and me, we've already set a barrier for ourselves way before we even did this podcast with that. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do also want to say that, Keeling, I seriously appreciate what you were saying to me. I mean, it literally means a lot, definitely coming from you. But I also want to say I don't want to be sitting here in where I'm at. Guys, when I was drinking, I mean, I made a lot of mistakes. And I'm not going to share it all in this episode, obviously. But, I made a lot of mistakes. I wrecked cars. I was never a fighter. I was like a drunk that ended up at the karaoke at the front of the bar kind of person. Just blacked out. I never was a fighter. I never, you know what I'm saying? Nothing like that. It was simply just blacking out my pain constantly. And, but through some of that too, the people that are closest to you get the wrath, unfortunately, of your pain. You can go out and meet 20 people and they think you're the best person in the world, but you go home behind closed doors and that one person that you care about the most and cares about you the most gets the wrath of the sword, and it's super unfortunate. And the person that was in my life when I was drinking heavily like that got the wrath, and they didn't deserve it. And it will be one of my biggest regrets for the rest of my life because they were the one person that sat with me through a lot of things, and they were the one person that didn't deserve it, and they're the one that got it. It's super unfortunate.
Yeah, but they are very, very forgiving,
Mhm.
and I feel like at some point at some point you have to forgive yourself because, yes, like, truly and honestly, Adrian, like, I know deep in my heart, like, I wasn't there. I'm not the one that personally witnessed anything, but at the same time, I feel like you've done so much healing on yourself and you can look back at those things and be like, that's not who I am or who I was. Something took over me and made me a different person. And I'm not saying like, oh, well, it's an excuse because I was this. So it's an excuse for why I did this. No, I'm just saying like, taking responsibility and saying, listen, like, I'm so sorry, apologizing, all those things, it just shows like the kind of person you are now and how much growth you have put into that, because all of us have at least, I feel like, maybe not alcohol, maybe not drugs, maybe not this or that. Everybody may feel some way of something that they may have treated somebody badly. Sometimes I'll be in a bad mood and I'll just go into the store and I'll just like walk back out and Jared's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. Like, why are you bothering me?" And then I'm like, "Dang, like all he was doing was trying to check on me." But
Exactly
it's
what
just
you're
like
saying,
they
though.
just care. So little things like that. But yeah, so it's just all about, honestly, it's all about like taking responsibility and stuff, and I feel like you've done that, and it's also a part of moving on and being able to look back and be like, you know what, that isn't me. And obviously there are things that you wish that you, I feel like I can't say this for everybody or you or whatever, but me personally, there's things I look back on and I'm like, dang, I wish I could have changed that, but I can't. Like, it's too late. But if I could go back, I would change it, but I can't. So all I can do is forgive myself, apologize to them, and just move forward. Whatever that looks like for you, me, anybody. Like,
Yeah. I'm going to share another scenario about Arizona, I think, because Arizona is literally my healing state. And
right.
even though I don't like the city, Arizona is always going to have a place in my heart because it is my healing state. So, with that being said, like Phoenix is a really big city in Arizona. It's based, and Phoenix is about a bird. Like, if you look up the meaning of Phoenix, it's a legendary, like, immortal bird, and it regenerates or is born again, in other words. So that's just, obviously a belief. And I just looked up the meaning of it one day. I have no idea why. I was just like, Phoenix. I genuinely,
What
guys,
are
looked
the
up
odds of that
the
though?
most random
Like,
stuff, and that came up, and I was like, that is insane, because this is where the biggest transition of my life happened, like being born again. I truly feel like I feel like it was my second chance at life. And when I say
yeah.
that, this is why I'm going to share this scenario. I always say scenario, and I was listening to one of our earlier episodes, and I was like, I say scenario. First of all, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Second of all, I don't know if I'm using it properly. So, scenario,
Yeah,
when I'm
I
saying
think you are.
scenario, like it's a real, remember when we talked about we got taken out of school? No, I'm just kidding. So when I moved to Arizona, I spent a lot of time hiking by myself. I cannot explain what hiking by myself did for me. I would go on these hikes. Also, I was losing my mind. I'm trying to be sober. I've got all this stuff happening. I'm losing my mind. I was going out in like 115-degree weather. I remember I had met someone out here and they were like, Adrian, you need to be careful going out there in 115-degree weather. And I was like, I got this. Like, you don't worry about it. Well, I went on this hike and I picked this one out specifically because it was supposed to have a waterfall. Here's where I messed up. It's 115 degrees. There's no waterfall. Like, it's way too hot. It soaked up the water. So I go on this hike. That happened. Well, so I hiked for a couple, like maybe 2 hours. I don't know the exact time. And I'm hiking and I kept going and there were stairs. And like these stairs like kind of went up. I don't know how to explain it, like around. And I kept going. Mind you, at this point, it's so hot outside. My water was hot. When I was drinking out of like the little hose thing, I don't know what you say, like the little hose thing, my water was literally hot. And I still had to walk all the way back. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep going. Whatever. I'll just drink hot water. And I don't even like drinking cold water. I feel like people who actually drink water don't drink cold water. But I said what I said. I said what I said and I meant it. But I'm going up these stairs and as I'm going up the stairs, I start getting tired. I mean, it's hot. My water's hot. I've got no food. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And so I keep going up, I keep going up. And every time I thought I was going to reach the top, I wasn't reaching the top. I can't explain what, like, all the hopelessness of my entire life, like, flew on me in that moment. I was like, I can't reach the top. And I remember I sat on the stair and I just started crying. I'm like, I can't do it. I was like, I felt like everything in me give up in that moment. I'm like, I can't reach the top of this mountain. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. And then, like, that triggered memories from everything we went through in the past. I'm like, you know, not my parents didn't even care where I was. Nobody asked where I was. I'm in the middle of across the country. Nobody, like, they didn't even care. It really put into perspective for me. I mean, I slept outside. When I say a park bench, there was this chair. It was this giant chair. Just park bench is easier to say. I don't know why, but it was this giant chair. And when you sit on it, you're like all the way back. It's like bigger than you are. So when I slept on it, I was like in the back of it. I don't know how to explain it. Like, imagine, you know, just imagine laying in a chair. And so, and when I slept in that chair, I felt hopelessness in that moment. And that's when the family came and got me. But I had nobody to call, nothing. And then the family we met in North Carolina came and got me. I'll go more in detail with that story later. But, you know, fast forward, there was a couple moments like that in my life. But here, it's like all those moments. And the reason why I am like sharing random things, because moving across the country and leaving everything, and in that moment all of that hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like hopelessness. I don't know why, and I don't know what got like came over me. I was like, something in me was just like, keep going, and I don't know how to explain that feeling. It's just I literally stood up and I was like, you know, I like shrugged my shoulders and I walked up that around the rest of that stairs and I freaking made it to the top. And I'm not lying, when I got to the top of that mountain, I didn't even care. I went to a mountain where there was like no civilization or anything like that. So even if there was people, I just didn't care. I stood on the top of that mountain and I screamed that I was free. I literally was screaming up there. I'm like, they can never hurt me again. Like, I am by myself on the top of this mountain. And I know this sounds insane, but that sense of freedom that I felt like I broke out of a cage that I didn't want to be in my entire life. And I was just screaming at the top of this mountain, you know, and it was a huge moment for me. I can't explain that. And it's something that, even if it doesn't look like that in some people's lives, you know, all situations look different. But that freedom that I felt in that moment, all that hopelessness I felt 10 minutes prior went into that hope. And I feel like that gave me strength to continue on my journey here with healing and sobriety.
You are 110% a different person. So I just wanted to like just say that really quick.
Thanks, Kayleen.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I think it's just like one of those things, you know, with sobriety and stuff. Yeah, that's a whole that's a whole thing.
I feel like you're just hard on yourself. Yeah, like I feel like you may just be like hard on yourself. But
yeah,
honestly,
thanks,
Adrian,
Kayleen.
whenever you're talking about how you went to the top of the mountain and stuff like that, I was just like, dang, like that made me tear up a little bit. Cause I'm like, it takes a lot for somebody to do what you did, like truly and honestly. I know that we both had went down different routes and we both went through like twists and turns and did our own healing and went this way and that way, which I'll get into mine, you know, later too, because I kind of went one way, but it was like different
Healing,
in a
like,
way.
I hope whoever's listening, because when Kayleen shares, I can't even explain like a complete walking miracle. I there's no other way for me to explain it. And Kayleen, I appreciate like what you're saying a lot, honestly, because yeah, the whole mountain that I just shared, it was a huge moment for me. And like when I was hiking a lot by myself, and I wasn't, you know, I was really focused on myself. I wanted to learn to sit with myself, and I wanted to learn to sit with the pain. And it was the hardest thing I ever did. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. Like, I had friends that were like, we'll pack up our car and come get you right now. And I literally felt like it was the hardest thing to sit there and look at my phone and not just jump and go back. Was so hard, because sitting out here by myself and not knowing, and knowing that I could have gone back with my friends, that was like the hardest thing I think ever, because it was really hard out here. I'm not gonna lie. And you know, Kayleen, we've shared like a little bit about moving around and, you know, stuff we shared in previous episodes. And I'm going to share one more thing, and then we're probably going to end up wrapping this episode up and jumping into the next one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give Keeling more time to talk. I feel like I ended up sharing like a lot of stories on here, but this one specifically, I think Keeling, as you listen to it, and I feel like we've talked about it, so we'll see. But when I had first got my apartment out here, I didn't look up the area,
Yeah.
like I said, and I lived like, I was scared. Like I did not know what was going on. One of those moments I didn't know what was going on, a decision I made,
Yeah.
like I'm over here like, what's going on? There was these 3 little kids, and I cannot make this up. Like I've said, I wake up at like 3 in the morning for work, and at that time I wasn't getting home till late in the day. And these little kids, sometimes they would be out in the morning when I left for work, and then almost every single day when I lived in that apartment, they would be sitting on the stairs. And like it got to the point sometimes they were waiting on me to get home. And cuz I would just sit with them on the stairs. I think one was like 3, it like ranged from like 3 to 11. And they were always outside. Mind you, it's hot here. It's like 115, 20 degrees. And it's just hot for these.
Oh, I
It's
know what you're talking
hot.
about.
And so sometimes I would just, sit on the stairs with them, and they would talk to me. They shared some stuff with me that I was like, oh my gosh, it broke my heart. So I'm like sitting on the stairs with these kids. And then it got to a point where they would come and knock on my door for some water. I'd give them water. And then they're telling me how they don't have water at their house. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I spent like a lot of time in that apartment during this situation crying at night. And here's why. It's because there was a day those kids came. I had taken, guys, I'm a child. I brought a remote control car with me, and I brought to play with in a basketball. I'm just being honest. So I was like, okay, these kids are always outside. And so I gave the kids a basketball. I wanted to do it because I know what it's like to be outside like that. And the stuff that they had shared with me, I started getting concerned. So I gave them this basketball. They come back knocking on my door. This other group of kids literally jumped them for the basketball. And I was like, honestly, I took that really heavy because I was like, if I would have never given them the basketball, this never would have happened. Then I'm sitting there thinking, where are their parents? What can I do? If I was to
Yeah.
call CPS or something, what if they get in a worse situation? Or what if I go try to find their parents and their parents want to like beat me up or something? Like I was put
Yeah.
I feel like growing up, I was on the side of the table of the kids where I was like, why is nobody helping us? Why is
Right.
in that moment? And as I was like processing everything happening with this situation, I was on the other side of the table. And because of that, it's real life experiences that like helped me in realizing certain things. I was on that flip side of that table, and I was like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I genuinely was at a complete loss for words. And I was like, of course, with our childhood, I'm like, oh my gosh, sometimes you just don't know what to do, and that can freeze you. So it's nobody's fault that even if they hear this podcast and stuff we share in the future, like it's nobody's fault, because now I have an understanding of how hard it can be. And it got to a point with those kids. The one kid had Crocs on, and yeah, they were old. Who cares? Like, okay, you can't see the like little Ninja Turtles on it anymore. Like, whatever. Who cares? I don't care about that. These little kids jumped him and bullied this little 3-year-old because his shoes were dirty. And I sat there
Right.
with my shoes on. My shoes are dirty from work. I'm like, I love your shoes. I actually would rather wear those than other shoes because
And you see yourself somewhat in those kids because you
yeah,
remember,
so it's like realizations like that Arizona has brought to me that I never would have gotten if I didn't, come on this healing journey. So healing, I'm so sorry. I definitely took over and like shared a lot on this one. So
No, no. I feel like we have so much to share. I feel like
mhm.
it's going to go vice versa. I feel like there's going to be times where it's going to be because we had two different journeys. So there's going to
Yeah.
be times where I'm just going to, hear and listen, and some things I had never heard and some things I have heard. And same for you. We're going to be talking about so much different things. I mean, we have so much to share together. And and separately. Like whenever I go to talk about, whenever I was living in Indiana and, stuff like that. Like we said before, we were together and we were also apart for a long time, like a very, very long time. And there's just things that happened. And so we're going to have things to share together, things that you're going to share and things that I'm going to share, that really all either of us can do is like listen at that point and just, so I mean,
Yeah.
which for you, Arizona, you moving there and going on your healing journey and stuff, going and hiking and going to the top of the mountain and screaming or whatever, because I freaking do that. I've done it before, and I've done it with like all of our neighbors around, and like scream at the top of my lungs.
A moment like that, like yeah, mine's out in the mountains, but I mean, a transition or a breakthrough like that can literally happen in your bathroom or your car.
Right.
It doesn't have
Right.
to what it was for me. You know what I'm saying? Like it can literally happen
Right.
anywhere.
Yes, like so for you, that's where yours happened. Well, not even just when that happened, but just altogether, Arizona is where you went for peace. North Carolina is where I finally ended up where I feel at peace after everything. I feel like it kind of sucks in a way because I feel like we are both so close now and went on our different healing journeys. And when we finally got closer, we're 26 hours away.
Right.
and but we're both happy with where
Mhm.
we're at in our lives. So it's hard because I want to live closer to you, but it's like
I know,
this is where
Kayleen.
life ended up taking us. So I don't know. Like hopefully one day life will end us somewhere where we're closer. But as for right now, this is where I feel like we're both, and I tell you that all the time. I feel like Arizona at in this moment, Arizona is where you are meant to be, if whether I like that or not. And me here
I feel like
for
every
right
time we
now,
try to move
like
closer to each other, it's like one of us ended up moving to another state or something.
yeah,
Like,
like
and this is like after
it
we already moved
just
around with our parents. Kayleen,
literally.
let's go ahead and do a part 2.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we will see you guys on the next episode next week.
Alrighty, see y'all. Bye.